Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we are tearing down some of the biggest, most persistent myths about addiction. We're going to get past the stereotypes and really look at what science, and just as importantly, what lived experience actually tells us. All right, let's jump right in.
You've probably heard this question before. Maybe you've even asked it yourself, looking at a friend or a family member or someone in the news. Why can't they just stop? It's a question that's just loaded with frustration and pain, and honestly, a lot of misunderstanding. So today, we're going to try to find the real answer to that question.
So let's start with the big one. Myth number one, the idea that addiction is some kind of moral failing, that it's all about a lack of willpower or weak character. This one idea has probably caused more shame and stigma than any other.
But is it really about willpower? Well, modern science tells a very, very different story. It's less about a lack of will and way more about hijacked brain chemistry. We're not talking about character here, we're talking about biology. Addiction literally rewires the brain's most basic systems for reward and survival.
And just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, think about natural rewards, like eating a fantastic meal or laughing with friends. Those give you a nice little hit of dopamine, right? The brain's feel-good chemical. Well, addictive drugs can crank that system up to 100 times more powerfully. 100 times. That's not a little bump, that's a tsunami.
And this is so important to get. This isn't a level playing field. It's not a fair fight. It's a biological takeover. The very circuits that are designed to help us survive get rewired to put the substance first, above almost everything else. And that makes the choice to just stop, well, it makes it monumentally more difficult than it looks from the outside.
Okay, so if it's not just a matter of willpower, then it must be all about the drug itself, right? That's our second myth, that the substance is the one and only villain in this story. But is that really the whole picture?
Not even close. Experts now use something called the biopsychosocial plus model. I know, it's a mouthful, but stick with me, because this is a total game changer. It basically says addiction is a perfect storm of factors. Your biology, your psychology, your social world, your culture, even your spiritual life. It's never, ever just one thing.
And if you want to understand the psycho and social parts of that, you have to look at the huge landmark study on adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. It found a link between trauma in childhood and addiction later in life that was so powerful. The researchers themselves said it was, quote, of an order of magnitude rarely seen. In public health, that's like finding a unicorn. Just how powerful is that link? Get this. The ACE study showed that a person with 5 or more of these tough childhood events is 7 to 10 times more likely to have issues with substance use. Let that sink in for a second. 7 to 10 times. That completely flips the script from what's wrong with you to what happened to you.
And we're not talking about abstract things here. What are these experiences? Well, they're things like abuse, physical, sexual, or emotional, parental divorce, neglect, seeing violence or substance use in your own home. These aren't just bullet points on a slide. They are profound, painful events that can literally shape a person's brain and their vulnerability for the rest of their life.
Okay, so all of this complexity leads us right to our third myth, the idea that there's some kind of magic bullet. A single program or a single cure that should work for everybody. But if addiction is so complex and so personal, it just makes sense that the solution can't be one size fits all.
This quote from someone with lived experience just says it all. I'm an addict, I'm not stupid. It's such a powerful gut punch, right? It's a reminder that treatment has to start with respect and dignity. The person seeking help, they're the expert on their own life. They have to be a partner in their own recovery, not just a patient.
Which brings us to the core principle here. Good treatment is client-centered. There is no single right way to get better. There are many, many different roads to recovery, and the best one is always the one that fits a person's own goals, their own needs, and their own values. And here's just a quick look at how different those roads can be. You've got approaches like 12-step programs, which are amazing for many people and focus on total abstinence through community and support. And then you have something different, like harm reduction, which might focus more on just reducing the negative consequences of use, with the client setting their own goals. Neither is better than the other. They're just different tools for different jobs. All right, and that brings us to our final myth. And honestly, this one can be one of the most destructive for someone on that journey. The idea that recovery is a straight line, and that any slip-up, any relapse, means it's all over and you've failed.
The reality, from both science and real life, could not be more different. Relapse is a normal and often expected part of getting better from any chronic health condition. Expecting perfection is just setting someone up to fail. The real key is seeing a relapse not as a failure, but as data, as a chance to learn something and adjust the plan.
And when you reframe it like that, you start to see the incredible strength it takes. Think about that for a second. Imagine how demoralizing it must feel to have a setback. This quote asks us to see the other side, to see the immense courage it takes to walk back in, hold your head high, and say, I'm ready to try again. That is not failure. That is resilience personified.
Because in the end, recovery isn't just about stopping something. It's about starting something. It's about a much bigger, much more hopeful project, building a life that feels meaningful, a life full of connection, purpose, and positive alternatives. The goal isn't just to stop dying, it's to start living.
So where does that leave all of us? We've seen that addiction is not a simple choice. It's not a moral flaw. It's a really complex health issue, one that's woven together from our brain chemistry, our personal histories, and the society we live in. So, if all of that is true, what does that ask of us? How should that change the way we think, the way we talk, and the way we act when it comes to this issue and the people it affects?